Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Nebraskans watching. I would like to withdraw LB 86. It's a bill that deals with minimum wage. It's a bill that I've been working on with stakeholders for over a year. And the truth is that we just aren't there. You know, the stakeholders and I aren't in agreement on the best way to move forward with this issue, and we have to just keep working on it. There have been many times over the 4 years that I've been here where I've withdrawn bills. My very first year, in 2019, one of the first bills I introduced was, I don't even want to say this on the record, it's so embarrassing, I can't believe I did it. I introduced a bill to tax piercings and tattoos and tanning services to raise revenue for something. I thought I had this great idea. And obviously, like, the backlash from people was huge. People were posting on Facebook and social media and calling my office and emailing and talking about what a bad idea it was. It took about 1 minute to completely convince me that it was not a good idea to do the bill, and I withdrew it with help from the clerk and help from the speaker at the time. And at the time, I thought it was a really embarrassing thing to withdraw a bill, and I was embarrassed to have introduced the bill, and I was embarrassed to withdraw it. And you know, I've withdrawn bills many, many times since then, and it's no big deal. So I say this to model, but also send an explicit message to new senators that if you have a bill that's not ready, if you have a bill that doesn't have consensus, if you have a bill that somebody asked you to introduce and now you're kind of having second thoughts about it, and I know many of you do because many of you have personally spoken to me about it. And I'm speaking to some people right now who know who they are, who I don't have to say who they are. But if you would like to withdraw a bill, that's a fine thing to do. And there's a couple other motions on the agenda today to withdraw bills. I also wanted to speak briefly. I wanted to let the moment speak a little bit here about the sine die motion that we had yesterday. Several colleagues asked me why I supported the sine die motion. Many people contacted my office in different ways through different channels to ask the same thing. And let me tell you about the context in the chamber here when that motion was made. There was nobody here, maybe 4 people. Everybody who was here would have supported the motion, and this was coming on the heels of the introduction of several bills that would deeply cut into the civil rights of Nebraskans. I think that something like a motion to adjourn the legislature is appropriate when we want to send a message to our colleagues that there are procedural motions and things that we can do to hold things up, to just start over. And honestly, I don't even think it would have been a big deal to me if we had adjourned sine die, because then you can just get your governor to call us back in, and that's exactly what would have happened. But when it's an appropriate and valid response to the undercutting slowly over the years of the rights of Nebraskans. We had an abortion ban introduced yesterday that Nebraskans are going to be very activated around, because the majority of Nebraskans do not support an abortion ban. The majority of Nebraskans are not asking us to come down to the legislature and work on things like that. We had 2 anti-trans bills introduced yesterday that are cutting into the rights of children and families and sending a message to kids across the state of intolerance and hostility. Before that, we had an anti-drag bill introduced by Senator Merman, which is ridiculous. The way his bill is worded, it would make it illegal for like a high school theater performance for a girl to play the role of a boy. Then that, under his bill, would be considered a drag show. And the school could be fined $10,000. The family could be fined $1,000, and it would be a misdemeanor offense. So in your haste to bring your, to be morality police for Nebraska, basically, when nobody is asking you to do this, you're really hurting yourselves. You're really hurting yourselves. All of this is a circus to divert attention from the financial ripoffs that are happening in this state. We have a punch bowl of money from ARPA funds, from federal dollars, that everybody wants a piece of. And the people introducing these divisive, culture war, fake problem bills don't realize how they're being used by the wizards behind the curtain to make all these financial ripoffs happen. What I want to say on the record before I wrap up here is that trans people are people, and for trans children, life can be overwhelming and lonely and difficult to live, and their parents and families are continually worried about their children and their happiness. For trans youth who do have affirming parents, sometimes that is the lifeline for them that keeps them literally alive. And we are in the legislature trying to take that away from them. This body should do nothing to contribute to the obstacles and the discrimination that trans people and their families face, especially when this is a made-up fake culture war toxic issue that's being brought to you by people who are trying to create distractions from the actual, tax and economic ripoffs that they're trying to do in this body. So don't let yourself be used for things like that, colleagues. When there is a bill that cuts into the civil rights of Nebraskans, there are tools in the toolbox that we have to use to address that. And I promise trans families in Nebraska, the people who care about them, that that's exactly what we're going to do. And there is plenty of time to withdraw bills that you no longer can support. I would ask for the body's green vote on my motion to withdraw LB 86. It still needs some work. It doesn't have the support of all the stakeholders that I need to be at the table. And with that, I'll ask for your green vote. Thank you.